My name is Crystal Beckman. I work for the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. Our wildland program is housed in our forestry division. And in that forestry wildfire program that I'm in, I provide the outreach and education across the state. At least our department is broken into 6 area offices. And so I help with community preparedness programs, get them the tools and resources they need locally, and also the material so that they can help educate homeowners who live in wildland fire prone landscapes. Today I'm going to briefly visit about and share some information about possible partners that offer or are through adult education partners, and how these have assisted us in bringing that community engagement. And I'm also going to take a brief minute to visit about how Montana has been working to better engage landowners. And by doing this, we're trying to improve our outreach message. And with all those funds and budgets that are tight, we want to make sure that when we do send out the outreach material, that it resonates with landowners and is making a difference versus just kind of they hear it on the radio and it kind of flows right by. So next slide, please. So especially in our Flathead Kalispell area community, one of our area program managers up there has been quite innovative with utilizing adult education partners. And so the first example is tapping into either a community college, a university in your area, or a county public school adult division, and utilizing that continuing education program to help advertise events, or for this example, the Flathead Community College, when they have their adult education courses, they also have a community lecture series. And so one of the benefits that I wanted to share this idea and just think it's so great that the Kalispell area is doing this is that for advertising and the distribution is very extensive within their area, and it's free. One of the drawbacks would be that you have to do quite a bit of planning to make sure you can meet that deadline. For example, tie in with the community college, get it in the fall, make sure you meet the deadline, and then when they do a mailing through their whole distribution of the Flathead Valley, over 10,000 people receive this, that there is a community lecture going on in the spring. The other benefit that we have found with utilizing community education programs is some of the facilities are very large, comfortable, and can be a great place to hold events, whether that is at a university or a local public school or community college. And in relation to that, they have found it pretty successful that if you partner with a department within a community college, usually they can get the facilities for, say, a lecture hall, an auditorium, or a university theater. If a department sponsors that, usually there isn't a cost to the group. And so the Fire Safe Flathead group that was working with this, they got the Natural Resource Department in the college to sponsor them, and then they didn't have those fees. And so they're doing a 4-part community lecture series this spring. The second example would be maybe a strategy like Charlie mentioned, and how to get an ambassador and how to find those. Well, we had a group contact us and want to set up a time to meet with us that was from a lifelong learning center, and they wanted to had a local interest in fire. They were the local ambassador, the local spark plug in the Missoula community, and said, we're interested in wildfires. You know, we see what's going on across the West, especially in California this year. Can you help us line up and information so our audience, which are usually adults in their later years of life and really interested in sharing that continuing education. And so we've lined up with them for a spring speaker to talk about the home ignition zone. We're fortunate to live in Missoula, and we have retired researcher Jack Cohen who's going to take time and visit with this group and present. And so my thought with just sharing with this idea with you is that maybe these adult education partners could really have something to offer and be a spark plug. Besides this Missoula event, they wanted to go ahead and have a help plan and coordinate and do all the work for another event in a local community and also with the homeowners association. Next slide, please. Real quickly, how is the feedback? I'm hearing some, but I don't know if you guys can hear it on your end.
You sound great on this end, Crystal.
Okay. So now I'm moving over to back to that landowner messaging. And with Montana being a very large state, more rural population than other states in the West, we, just like you guys, want to make sure that our outreach education dollars are going the furthest. And one ways we have done this is through a program called Tools for Engaging Landowners Effectively. The acronym is called TELI. So if you hear me say that, it is a program for the Tools for Engaging Landowners. And what we are, trying to do is ask the question of, are we reaching the right audience, and who can have the right audience who can have the greatest impact? And this group is, the TELI program is part of the Sustaining Family Forest Initiative, and it's usually delivered in a workshop format, but it can also be provided to individuals or groups. The DNRC has currently hosted 2 full workshops, one in 2014 and one in 2017, along with several short courses, and have trained over 150 natural resource professionals. These professionals include consulting foresters, nonprofit organizations, conservation districts, and our own state agency as well. So the TELI program combines principles of targeted marketing with data from the National Woodland Owners Survey to help organizations and natural resource professionals tailor their communication and outreach efforts to the knowledge level, value, and style of their target landowner audience. And so this approach help expands beyond those low-hanging fruit landowners who are right there ready to get engaged, but reach more beyond those that we haven't tapped into that may have different backgrounds, and so tailoring messages for their needs and what might get them interested. So a part of the participants who have attended this workshop, they have found to use this to improve their existing outreach and marketing strategies by better understanding the audiences and messages. And one quote from an attendee said that you don't have to have a sophisticated marketing plan or be a professional advertiser to create messaging that resonates with your target audience and get them to take action. I have included Angela Wells' email on here. She is our DNRC state employee who is partnered with the Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies group. And so if you are interested in learning more about this workshop, feel free to touch base with her or visit the engaginglandowners.org website. Next slide. So with this, I'm going to next move on to a natural resource group and project that is just kind of getting going. Well, we originated in 2013, and we've just completed some work. So let's see. Got to find my notes real quick. There we are. I wanted to share some information about how this group, natural resource managers, social scientists, conservation leaders, came together because they were all seeking how to better connect with landowners. Even though the conservation districts wanted to touch base with landowners about weeds, they still wanted effective messaging. And if they were talking about how to reduce human-bear conflicts, and wanted to educate the landowners on proper trash disposal, or myself trying to reach out to homeowners to encourage them to take risk reduction actions around their home, we all wanted that better connection. And so the goal, after we've met and after years of kind of working through this, was to develop a statewide values survey that will aid natural resource stewardship managers across the state in identifying the most effective avenues for connecting with landowners in their respective areas of work. And so a statewide survey was conducted in the spring of 2017, and from this, the wildfire data, we determined that across Montana, and like you guys have in other states, we have different types of landowners across the state, and not all of our landowners are the same. And so an analysis was conducted which identified 4 types of landowners. And these 4 types of landowners, like who approached wildfire preparedness, they all approach wildfire preparedness from unique perspectives. And types of landowners include, we titled one as firefighters. These landowners had high risk perceptions. They reported taking many preparedness actions, as well as being, that was kind of the title for the firefighter landowner. We also identified those unconcerned landowners who have low risk perception and reported taking few preparedness actions. And then the other 2 groups that we identified were concerned but constrained landowners and unconvinced, who, despite having moderate concern about wildfire, these landowners haven't taken any steps, and they remain unconvinced about taking actions will reduce their risk. So with this typology of landowners, we will help outreach campaigns tailor salient messages for different types of landowners. If you would like some more information or on this research and what else will be coming out of it, feel free to give me a contact, and my email is included on this slide. And we're on to the last slide. I also wanted to include our home state website, which is dnrc.mt.gov. In the top right of this page, there's a section called How Do I? And you'll see a Determine My Wildfire Risk. I just wanted to share some of the resources we have available if you're interested in checking them out. We have a Determine Your Wildfire Risk public portal. Landowners would input their address, either find out their risk if a professional assessment is completed or request one. And they can also add specific attributes such as their roof type, if they've done vegetation work, to kind of give them a preliminary risk until a fire professional or forestry professional has conducted one. We also have hard copies of our short form for our risk assessment that landowner and fire professionals use. Then they plug that data into our online system. Or we have a paper version of an online risk assessment, a landowner risk assessment. This is a long version that explains and incorporates why it's important and what they can do. So it's a lengthy form that they can use as a tool, self-assessment tool.